Athletes and fans of bodybuilding, Regan Grimes is here, and he's going to answer all the critics. Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. Tarek El-Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. This is Olympia Live, brought to you by High Tech Pharmaceuticals. I have here the Cal Pro champion, Regan Grimes, going to the Mr. Olympia. How are you, Regan?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
All right. Great. Also with us, John Hansen, the great historian. John has been natural Mr. Olympia, and he's been 3 times Mr. Universe natural. Is that correct, John?
You got it, Tarek. You got
it. All right. Hey, Regan, the first thing I want to talk to you about is this.
Yeah.
Many great champions have won the Cal. Steve Kuklo, Dallas McCarver, Nathan Diasha, Patrick Moore. It's becoming one of those titles that people remember. You now have that title. Tell us a little bit about coming to California and winning this big show.
Yeah, I mean, being in Vegas too, we were able to just drive down, which was really cool. Usually I'm, having a long flight beforehand, but it was cool being able to come down with, manager Matt and my wife, and we had, our baby there. So it was an amazing time. I felt very comfortable, in California. The show was fantastic. It was really well done, and the stage was great. Everything just went super smooth, which also a huge thing was that, the show started at 3 and it started at 3. So we were right on time. So making sure that we were peaking right and being able to time our meals out was a huge thing.
Yeah. John, you had a chance to see him in New York. What was your impression?
Yeah, I thought Regan looked great in New York. It was my first time seeing you in person, Regan, and I was really impressed with your condition. I was telling Tarek, I'm used to seeing you in the off season, all bulked up. That was the first time I saw you really ripped. How did you feel your condition was in New York when you did that show?
Yeah, I felt like the condition was pretty good. I definitely brought a little bit more for California. I think we just had a little bit of an issue in New York with the peaking process. I feel like, and from hearing all the feedback as well, I came out strong and then I started to sweat and fade really fast. So that's been a common, issue that I've dealt with, hitting the stage is just nailing that peak. It's been an ongoing issue. But, as we, continue to compete and figure out what that is, it continually got a little bit better this year. So we were able to nail that down in California. Yeah.
And Regan, I did the Olympia News and I looked at you. And I think it was New York that we could see your back poses are vastly improved. I mean, that was probably the thing that shocked me the most, right?
Oh, thank you.
I've seen you for many years, and I was like, man, especially the back lat spread. I was like, Regan Grimes might have one of the best back lat spreads.
Wow.
What happened?
Geez, I think it's just a continuation of just hammering it and just I have a really great, connection to the back, and I just never stop. It's one of those things where the back has been like a stronger point, but just because it's stronger point, I haven't let off the gas on it. It's something that I enjoy training back. So I think just over the years, it's just continued to come forward with me. So well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was vastly improved. John, you saw him in New York. Did you notice the back lat spread? I'm going to find a picture here for the cow. I was like, man, his back lat spread is insane now. It's one of the best in bodybuilding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just thought the back in particular was a real strong point for Regan, especially your hamstrings, of course, Regan. Your hamstrings are amazing. Totally
thank you.
Back. But yeah, your rear double bi I thought was also really impressive.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
So we have a picture here of Regan Grimes on the back double biceps where he won the California state. So right here, we were talking about Nick Walker and Derek Lunsford, how Nick Walker had the lines on the hamstrings but Derek didn't. But Derek had the striated glutes. It looks like Regan has both of them, right, John?
Yeah. I think your back poses are really strong.
Thank you. Yeah, the hamstrings. Yeah, shit. I mean, that's a good shot for me, for sure. Thank you, guys.
Now, what did you do differently, Regan, from California to New York? Because, like you said, you kind of missed your peak in New York. What do you think happened with New York? I mean, I've heard other people who were there say that you kind of faded after you first came out and you kind of flattened out. So, what adjustments did you make the next week for California?
So I think the biggest thing was going into New York. We ended up pulling salt the morning of the show. So generally the day before, you kind of keep salt pretty normal in every meal, which would be like, say, a gram with every meal. And then the morning of the show, we actually pulled it and then reintroduced just a little bit, like 30 minutes before the stage. And unfortunately, like, I don't think that was enough to hold the look on stage, because as soon as I started, posing and working, almost immediately, I think I had 3 or 4 minutes, where I was like, it was holding it. And then once I started to break that sweat, it just wouldn't stop. So I think it was electrolyte, some sort of imbalance. I think if we would have kept the salt in every meal, it would have been a lot better. And that's like what we did for, California. Okay. And it's more of a salt thing, I think, honestly.
So it wasn't a carb issue. It was more you just pulled the sodium on the day of the show and that flattened out.
Yeah, because I mean, carbs from, let's say the show was Saturday, Wednesday I did like 1,000 plus, Thursday 1,000 plus, Friday 1,000 plus, Saturday, each meal is like 100 to 150 carbs. So a continuation of that. I think I had 4 meals before I hit the stage, and then it was just a salt thing, really.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the back to bull biceps. I think is a very good shot. You could use a little bit more width, but on the back lat spread, I go as far as to say this is first call out of the Olympia back lat spread. I judge the Olympia and I go, this back lat spread is one of the best in the business. And I have just seen Nick Walker and Derek Lunsford. So I think this is your best pose. Would you agree with me, Regan?
I think so. Yeah. I want to just continue. Like, what do we got? 15 and a half weeks. So I want to just make it stronger, going into the Olympia. So that is definitely my mission, to make that back shot as good as possible. Yeah. But I think definitely the back shot is my strongest pose. Right now I'm really focusing on, quads from the front, chest, and a little bit more, all over, of course, but like arms too. But I think quads is probably the biggest thing that I need to bring up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I'm trying to remember, because the waist is so small, it makes that back lat spread so dominant. And then you look at the lower half, he's got, striated glutes. He's got the lines on the hamstrings, and the legs look pretty good. He also has the calves. You can also see the triceps, right? The triceps are helping here. A lot of times guys overtrain their shoulders, and the shoulders become too prominent on the back poses. That's not the case. I think this is one of the best back lat spreads in the business. And I think you send a message to Nick Walker. I talked to Nick Walker and I said, Nick, you better be scared to pose next to Regan Grimes on the back lat spread, because he might get you on that pose.
I hope so.
I'm always trying to create hostility.
Yeah, you are.
But so you win your qualification in California, and everybody's like, awesome. Regan is going to the Mr. Olympia. But then you shocked everybody and you said, to heck with that, I'm doing Toronto. What was the thought process?
So I had already had it in my mind, that I was going to do Toronto. I was thinking, more shows, more experience, more time on stage, but more or less like Toronto is my home base, and I haven't competed there since like 2014. So it kind of just worked out perfectly that, I was doing those two and Toronto was next. I was like, okay, I want to do that, for, so my family can come and watch, where, they see everything on the screen and they follow, Instagram and stuff, but a lot of them don't get the opportunity, to come all the way to Vegas or, to one of these other pro shows. So I thought that was a cool time. And we had a ton of family members come out and it was a great time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of those,
but of course, I didn't win it. I wanted to win it for them too, right? But yeah.
Of those three shows, Regan, which one do you think was it? The Cal that you were most impressed? You think you hit your peak on that one?
Yeah, California for sure. Yeah. I think for Toronto we were again just a little flat, like through the chest, just kind of everywhere, but just a little too flat. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a question that I have for both of you guys. Mm-hmm. Are you guys noticing that competitors are competing more now? Regan did 3 shows. Tonio Burton, he just won the Legions. He went to Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
William
Bonac won Detroit.
Jeez.
He did.
William's done a ton.
Yeah.
He did Dubai. What else he did? Did he do New York?
He did New York.
He did New York.
He did New York. And Saskarati.
And he did
done every single show on the schedule this year. I'm noticing that the competitors are doing more shows now, and it's a good thing because I think they're getting better as they compete, and we're going to see at the Mr. Olympia if they get tired or not. But Derek Lunsford has now done 2 shows, the Arnold in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Samson Dauda has done the Arnold. He's going to do the Olympia, so that's going to be 2 shows. Nick did Pittsburgh and New York.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys competing more. What do you guys attribute that to?
Damn, it's true though. Yeah, they have. I do feel that too. I think it's just I don't know the reason. I don't know. I mean I love to compete, so when I'm in shape, I want to do multiple shows and get the experience. I think for me, every time I've competed, I always at least do 2. So the third one was kind of just an additional this year. But I think the biggest one was Derek, because he's only really done 1 show year after year after year, right? So this was for him. He added two shows to his year, which is going to be interesting, come Olympia time, if that affected him or that made him better, it could. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's just the opportunity is there, and a lot of these shows are close together, so it makes sense, for the prize money, number one, and the prize money seems to be increasing. Yeah, but also in Regan's case, and also we talked to William Bonac, he said the same thing. It was like an opportunity to learn his body more and learn how to peak better. And the more shows he did, like remember when we talked to him, Tarek, he did Detroit and he peaked for that, and then he said, "What the hell? I'm going to do New York. I got nothing to lose. I just want to play with it and then see how much better I can peak for that show." And it seems to be working for him. He's doing great every show he's doing.
Yeah, he seems to stay in a great shape for a long period of time. He's almost like just ready to go. So it's like, what else what better thing do you have on a Saturday going on than to go to the next show?
Yeah, exactly.
Almost, right? Like,
what else are you doing?
In the past, the magazines, Weeder Publications, they had a requirement, right, John? You probably know this a little bit better than I do, but Chris has mentioned this to me and Flex Wheeler as well, that the magazines, Weeder Publications, they would require you to compete a certain number of contests. Is that something that the supplement companies do nowadays? They require, because I talked to some of the companies in Brazil, they get a little bit discouraged when competitors don't compete, right? Because they're paying on a monthly basis, and then the guy is not competing. And if you're sponsoring Regan Grimes, you're like, okay, his name is on the news right now. People are talking about him. It's worth spending the money with him, right?
Yeah, I could see that be like frustrating for a company, if they're paying you and you're just not active at all.
Yeah.
That would be frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know if Weider require them to do a certain number of shows?
From some of the old school guys I talked to, I think, yeah, they did require that. I remember talking to Vince Taylor, and he was required like to do the Arnold and things like that.
Yeah. Well, Regan, you're going to the Mr. Olympia. Some people said you shouldn't be going to the Mr. Olympia because you're not ready to go to the Mr. Olympia. You responded and you said, I'm going to the Mr. Olympia. I qualified and I'm going to go. What's your goal? Do you want to get a top 10? Do you want to be on the first call out? What's your realistic goal? And, what do you think about this criticism of recommending you not to do the Olympia?
I think it's crazy. But I mean, I think if you qualify, you got to take, every shot to get on the, Super Bowl of bodybuilding stage. It's literally the epitome of their sport. It's the top of our sport. So if I qualified, I'm going to go. But for me this year, the goal is top 6. Honestly, the first call out. That's what I want. So we will. That's what we're gearing for, and I'm going to make it happen. Yeah.
Well, so top 6, we're talking about here. Regan top 5. Somebody called you Clint Eastwood, John.
Yeah.
You've gotten that before, right?
One of my favorite actors. That's a compliment.
Yeah.
And Linda Murray, definitely first call out. Amazing back. So top 6 at the Mr. Olympia. I'm going to tell you something, Regan. I think a lot of people, they are jealous of your popularity. They go, Regan Grimes is very popular. He's a good-looking guy, and we're not going to take him seriously. And you've proven them wrong because you've won pro bodybuilding shows. You're going to the Olympia, and I'm going to speculate here that your back lat spread is going to be bar none one of the best in the show. The key question is, how do you fare against guys that have more muscle mass than you, right? So I kind of put you in the same position as Rafael Brandão, right?
Right, yeah.
Both of you guys are super aesthetically pleasing. Both of you guys have gained a lot of size. But in reality, you're going to have to face Derek Lunsford, who's probably wider than taller, right?
Yeah.
Hadi Chupin, who's also, super wide.
Super thick.
And
great. He is like probably the most conditioned guy.
He's been the most consistent in conditioning. He's been more consistent than Derek, more consistent than Samson. And then Samson, he used to be like you and Rafael, right?
Yeah.
I remember you guys competing in Europe, right?
Yeah. The Romania, the Prague, and the Egypt. We all won one of them. Right? It was like I beat Samson in Egypt, and then we went to Prague next, and Samson won, and then they went to Romania, and Rafael won. So it was like I didn't go to the Romania one, but they kept going. Yeah.
And then he got stung by a bee. And
I know. He got huge, man.
he got huge. And I was talking to Rafael, and he goes, dude, the progress that he made is unprecedented. But what's your strategy going against some of these more dense-looking bodybuilders like Derek, like Nick, like Hadi?
Well, I mean, I can only do my best, right? And the time is now. So I'm not skipping a beat. Everything is, every day counts for me right now. I'm basically in, grind mode. So I'm trying to get as best I can in the next 15 and a half weeks. I hope, to see a lot of progress from now to then, and just show the best I can, essentially, show my strengths and, try to get rid of the weaknesses that I have. And so I'm excited, man. I know for sure that this Olympia, just everything that in my life, my mindset, everything has adjusted, and my priorities are very straight. I know what I want, and I'm coming for it. So that's That's all I can say, really.
Do you think the key is just coming in with that increased size, Regan? Because I mean, you're a tall guy, you got the wide shoulders, and I've talked to like Samir Banu told me he's like Regan could win Mr. Olympia. He could be Mr. Olympia.
Wow.
You've got the potential. Do you think it's just to maximize that potential, you just need to come in with more thickness and size along with the hardness?
Yeah, I think it's just finding that combination, and then I think it's also, you know, I need to find the perfect peak too. So, you know, I think the data collected, you know, from the last 3 shows was great. So it can only make it better, you know, come the Olympia time. Yeah.
I want to see most muscular here. Okay, big shoulders, big arms.
And wide.
Yeah, midsection still there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we talk about midsection. That's not a problem with Regan. You know, I'm gonna be highly interested to see how he looks on those call outs, because you know, I don't think he's gonna be as dense as some of the shorter guys, but he's not going to be small, right?
Right.
He's not a streamlined bodybuilder anymore. I mean, that's plenty of mass on those legs. You know, you can see the back on the abs shot. That's a great shot for you here, Regan.
Yeah,
Man,
thank you.
sick abs, right?
Yeah.
Sick abs.
Thank you.
Bob Cicherillo never had abs like this.
No.
Bob's my friend. I love you, Bob. But no, I'm excited. I think Regan Grimes is going to be stellar at the Mr. Olympia, and I think he wouldn't be far-fetched if he got a first call out. The reality is that we have a bit of a mix of physiques here, right? You got Andrew Jacked, you got Regan Grimes, you got Rafael Brindel. And these guys are the most aesthetically pleasing physiques, right? And then you got the other section, right? You got Hadi, you got Nick Walker, and you got Derek. All of them don't have the smallest waist. They don't have the smallest waist. And a lot of them know that they need to rely on being big and out-muscling people to be on that first call out. Martin Fitzwater is really an X factor there, because he has nice lines, and you know, he's their height, but he's not as dense as them. Let's see what he can do. Maybe he can clean all that mass. Really, the Mr. Olympia is Samson Dauda, and the reason he's the Mr. Olympia is because he has the lines, right? And he is massive. His conditioning is very good, but he's not as good as Hadi Chupin. So there could be a little bit of a change on the guard here if some of these guys that are dense are not at their best, right? And then you start looking at Andrew Jacked, you start looking at Regan and Rafael, and you're going, hold on. These guys are peeled to the bone. They're no longer small guys. They're not as dense, but they're no longer small. Let's bring them in and have some comparisons, right? And I think that's definitely a possibility. Would you agree, John?
Yeah. Regan, who do you think is like the most impressive of these guys that you're going up against?
Well, I mean, Samson's mass is incredible. I mean, when I think of Samson, you know, Olympia, I think of his most muscular from the front. Like, it's just overwhelmingly like big, you know, and he's got great shape. He's also, I would say, more hard from the front than he is from the back. So that front shot is unreal. He's also a little bit, you know, he's taller too, right? So he's more like my height, I would say. So it allows me, you know, if I can get the size on, you know, then I can stand next to him, you know. So I think in Egypt he beat me, I beat him. I was maybe 30 pounds lighter than he was. So I know, like, if I can get myself to where I need to be, that, you know, it's possible for me to stand next to him and hold my own and potentially, you know, beat him one day. That's my goal. So,
you know, when you talk about the Olympia, every year when we go there, I think we all have a good idea who the top 5 are, who the top 5 contenders are. And I think that's the same thing every year. If you were going to sneak into that top 5 or break into that, do you think social media plays a big part of that? I know you got a big social media following. If you posted pictures leading up to the show, like very impressive pictures, do you think that opens a door for you at, going into the show? Like people are going to be looking for you because of those pictures?
No, I don't think so. And I think in the past too, like, the stage and the gym is two different things. Like,
Right.
I think also it's kind of shot myself in the foot doing that. I have these, pictures in the gym and you're 4 days out and, you look a certain way and then you end up on stage and, that doesn't look the same as you did in the gym.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to nail that same look.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, geez, we're not seeing that picture that we saw, so he's the Instagram bodybuilder, right?
Right.
So I've been called that, many times, and it is what it is. And honestly, it's happened. I did look better on Instagram than I did on stage, but just haven't nailed it yet. And I'm speaking about years prior. I think this year was a great year. I don't think anyone's saying that this year, but just. That was about that.
It was Nick Walker that called you Instagram bodybuilder. And after you won the Cal Pro, I'm close to his mom. I'm going to talk to his mom, and Nick Walker is going to apologize to you publicly on a live right here, Regan. His mom and I are very close. I know his mom, and Nick Walker is very much scared of his mom. So he's going to reprimand him. I'm going to bring him on a live, and I'm going to say, Nick, you said that Regan Grimes is an internet bodybuilder. He's won the Cal and he's going to the Olympia. And he said that he would be surprised to see you there since you haven't been able to make it in the last 2 years. Is that okay?
Oh my God, sure.
Listen, I think these guys picking at each other, I don't think there's a problem.
No.
I think being in the internet nowadays, you have to develop thick skin, right? You got people are going to criticize it. I remember 2 weeks before the Olympia, Samson Dauda, he did a show in France, right?
Right.
And the entire internet said, Samson is not ready. He's not going to win the Olympia. He's not ready. Every single channel was saying that he's not ready. He's not going to win the Olympia. It turns out the guy went in there and won the Olympia, right?
Literally, like, I hope he starts his diet, like just crazy stuff. It's
incredible. And Nick Walker is one of those guys that suffers a lot, right? He posts pictures and there's a lot of negativity. When you sit down to judge Nick Walker, he is so impressive. You get close to him right there. You get like 10 feet away from him, and he hits a side chest. He is so impressive. His conditioning and everything. The pictures in the internet do not do justice to what he is on stage, But again, I think all of you guys have to develop a thick skin and just move on and go ahead. I want to talk to you, Regan, about Canadian bodybuilding. It seems like there's a complete dominance in terms of the sheer number of Canadian bodybuilders that have been successful. I think the population of Canada is 26 million people. Let me get that stat so I'm precise. But from you, Chris Bumstead, Ian Valliere, Laura Lee Chapados, Missy Truscott, Jennifer Dory, it's a complete and absolute domination based on the number of people you have in Canada, 40 million, right?
Right.
Of how many of you guys are succeeding in bodybuilding, right? It's, Brazil has 230 million. America has 380 million. China and India, they have 1.6 billion. And here we have Canada with 40 million people, and we have some of the biggest champions in bodybuilding. What do you attribute that to?
Geez, that's a tough question. I think it might be the water that we have here. Just-
So can you drink some of that water? Nice.
Geez, man, that's a crazy question. I don't know. I mean, maybe we're Canadian, eh? You know, we just like to work hard.
Try harder.
Yeah. I
So
don't know.
I asked Big Ron Partlow this question.
Oh, you did?
I gave this whole introduction, right?
Yeah.
And Ron just looked at me and said, "Just better gear, Tarek."
Oh my God.
I'm like, Ron, come on, you know. But
Wow.
I did ask Chris Bumstead about it, and he
Uh-huh.
goes, "Dude, it's freaking cold, right? A lot of times it's freaking cold, and we're not
Mhm.
doing outside sports, and then we go to the gym." Would you think that's also a factor?
It could be. I mean, yeah. That's a pretty good answer. I mean, there is the winter where you just you don't really go outside much unless you're into like snowboarding or snowmobiling or ice fishing. But yeah, those are. I don't really do any of those anymore, obviously. But it could be the weather, a little bit that you just want to do inside stuff, and the gym is one of those things. Yeah.
So it's
a great question. I don't know. It's cool though, the statistics on that though, like how many people there are in those other countries and what the percentage would be, because obviously there's way more competitors, in America, like at a pro show, for instance. There might be at the Cali Pro. Well, there was 2 Canadians, right? And there was maybe just in bodybuilding, there was maybe 5 or 6 Americans or more, I think. But yeah, I wonder what those statistics would say, if you broke it down. It'd be kind of cool.
And
percentage-wise.
I have judged shows in Canada. The Canadians are very passionate about bodybuilding. I feel it in the audience. And I think ultimately, you got to look back to some of the great stars of Canadian bodybuilding. I mean, who cannot mention Paul Dillette, right? Paul Dillette was the ultimate freak, right?
He was a monster.
I know he didn't have that successful of a career, but Craig Kovacs, right? He was also another freak.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to judge Fouad, and I just made a post today. We hope Fouad has a speedy recovery from his accident. But talking about Fouad, I remember judging him at the Flex Pro in Santa Monica, and he's hell of a bodybuilder. And then I had seen him in Tampa, where he placed second to Dennis James, right?
Yeah.
So Fouad was a great bodybuilder. And now Ian Valliere, I think he's won more professional shows than anybody in terms of bodybuilding, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to catch.
Yeah.
I think he has 7, I think, or 7 wins. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ian is quite cocky. I asked him, I said, "Do you think Regan Grimes or anybody can reach you?" And he goes, "Tarek, are you on drugs?" So Regan, I want you to surpass him, okay?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go for it. No, I love Ian. He's an awesome guy, but Chris Bumstead got upset at me when I said Ian Valliere is the winningest bodybuilder in Canada. And then Chris said, "No, hold on. I've won 6 Olympias."
You're right.
So Chris,
yeah,
you're classic. You're not bodybuilder. You're a classic guy. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true.
If we go back to the old days, don't forget Roy Callender. Remember him? He was
Roy Callender. Yes, Roy Callender was
Canadian.
Yeah, Roy Callender. Let me see. I find a picture of Roy Callender.
Ben Pekulski.
Yeah,
Ben Pekulski, yes.
He was great. Probably some of the craziest wheels.
Yeah, I think Ben Pekulski placed second at the Arnold one time, right?
Yeah, that's big. Wow.
So right here.
And you remember Reed Schindel? Remember that name, Tarek? That's going back to the 70s too.
Who?
Reed Schindel.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, he was a Canadian champion. Real wide shoulders. I think he took second to Mike Menser at the 1978 Universe.
This is Roy Callender here.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Winner of
the physique, man.
Great.
1979 Mr. Universe title. Roy Callender, he came out ahead over tough competition from Albert Beckles that night in 1979. Yeah. Roy Callender, Canadian bodybuilder. So
Took third place at his first Olympia too.
yeah, he was a
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he looks great there. Look at the abs.
Yeah, very thick.
And the leg size too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Let me see here. I might have a video of Roy Callender. It would be nice to revive some of these guys here. I think one day in Primetime Muscle, what I'm gonna do is do a collection of all Canadian bodybuilders.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And so this is a little bit of Roy Callender for all of you guys. Let me see if I can. Well, would you consider him the pioneer of Canadian bodybuilding, John?
Yeah, I would say he's one of the big, first big winners, from Canada. He's originally from Barbados, so he's a transplant to Canada, but he's been in Canada the rest of his life. And Jimmy Caruso used to train him, if you remember the famous photographer Jimmy Caruso.
Oh. Yeah, look at that lat spread. It's all separated.
Yeah.
Fantastic physique,
He was in
Like
the
the waist, like all small waist back then.
he was in the Mr. Olympia in 1980, 81.
Look at that. And
That-
most muscular.
He competed back in the 60s also with Arnold and Frank Zane.
Wow.
very cool. Yeah, we're gonna do a
Super
revival
cool.
here. We're gonna do a revival of now, Regan. From now until the Olympia, we can assume you're not doing any shows, right?
Maybe.
Do you want to break news right now?
I mean, no.
Who's your
No.
coach right now?
My coach?
Yeah.
Dom Super Slice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so I'm shocked. I'm surprised. So there is a possibility that you might do another show.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. I might do France.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
Like
impressed.
Hampton.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I might do France. I think it's a good show. It's 2 weeks before Olympia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get beside some of these guys if they're going to do it as well.
Well, that worked well for Samson, right?
Yeah.
I think it's good. Like, 2 weeks out, then can go get back to Vegas. I'll be 10 days out.
Yeah.
And that would be 5 shows for the year.
Jeez.
Man, that's gonna drive Sean Ray and Bob Ciccarillo insane. They're not gonna make it, John. They're not gonna make it.
No.
If they see Regan Grimes competing in all these shows, then doing well at the Olympia, they're not gonna make it out of Vegas.
No, they're not.
Regan, if you're on the first call out and then you get your trophy, I want you to give Bob Ciccarillo a huge hug.
I will. Yeah,
Make
right on the
sure-
side of the stage.
Make sure the tanning just damages
Oh
his
yeah.
Oh,
Please.
his expensive suit.
You want to
I'll make
make
sure.
sure he gets very uncomfortable with a big hug, because Nick Walker said, Tarek, you don't have to worry about me.
Yeah,
I'm going to give him a big, nasty kiss. He
perfect.
announces my name, Well,
That's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah, I reserve. I think Bob and Sean, they competed. They're legends, and they have done a lot for the sport, and they have their opinions, and we should always respect their opinions. But I think the competitors now they have the right to respond as well, right? Nick Walker has the right to respond. Regan has the right to respond. John, what do you think about this? What some people would call rivalry, the old school guys being highly critical of the new guys. What's going on?
I don't know. I guess they just feel like, they have their opinion of how the bodybuilders should look, maybe. I think they have a right to express their opinion, you know, and
Mhm.
they have a right to voice whatever, you know, whatever opinions they have.
Yeah, I guess because bodybuilding is like subjective, like what
Right.
you like, right? So I feel like maybe the older guys, they liked what, I don't know, everyone likes something different, I
Yeah,
guess.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
And the standards change, you know, I mean, the bodybuilders obviously today are much bigger than they were back then. And,
Mhm.
you know, it's always a subjective sport. So everybody feels, you know, like everybody has their own ideal version of a physique and what it should look like. But of
Mhm.
course, the standards change through time. But, you know, when you look at bodybuilding, it's like, how do you judge it? It's all subjective. It's all based on a certain criteria: symmetry, shape, proportion, mass, cuts. But you know, those standards have, like I said, they've changed because the bodybuilders are advancing with the
Mhm.
size, you know, and then it's just a matter of what you consider the most important things, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think they're being awfully critical of this new generation. I think they have the right to be critical, and
Hmm.
I think anybody has the right. But I'm to the point of, man, these guys are amazing. You know, they're amazing, amazing bodybuilders. They're
Yeah.
the best in the world. You've made it to the Olympia. You're the best in the world, right?
Mhm.
Hey, Ronnie Coleman, when he won the Olympia in 2003, his midsection was not perfect, right?
Right.
His midsection
Mhm.
was not perfect. And yet, you know, we're here celebrating his great victory because he had an amazing physique. Dorian
Mhm.
Yates, he didn't have some of the biggest arms in bodybuilding, right? You could say his arms were a little bit underwhelming, and yet he was an amazing champion, right?
Mhm.
So I think that this generation is being very much criticized, and because we have internet right now, is highly criticized. In the past, you would get criticism from Peter McGov and some of the writers, right? And that criticism came every month on a magazine. I think nowadays you turn on the internet and everybody's criticizing you, and you just want a show. It's like, well, hold on, guys. You know,
Yeah.
you just want a show. You want to criticize somebody,
Yeah.
criticize the judges. Call
Yeah.
Tarek, call all the judges and say, hey, how come this guy is winning the show? And then we'll tell you why these guys are winning the shows. But
Yeah.
I think the competitors are being attacked. And this started with Phil Heath, right? Phil Heath was the first
Mm.
one. He got obliterated in the internet, even though he was winning Olympias left and right.
Yeah.
People were criticizing his midsection. Ronnie Coleman didn't have to deal with that criticism, and he also had the midsection that wasn't perfect. I think the internet is great for us to publicize the sport. We all benefit from the internet, from the supplement companies getting tons of traction. But I think we, experts, judges, we need to pull back on constant criticism. You know, I criticize everybody on Olympia News. I say, you could have bigger quads. I said this about Bruce Tabani. He's got an incredible physique. He looks
Mhm.
awesome. He could use a little bit more quads. But I think it's also cool to focus on the great things, right?
Yeah. And to
You
the
Yeah.
know,
credit
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
today's
Exactly.
bodybuilders, I mean, you know, years ago, if you go back 10 years, a lot of there was a lot of criticism about the stomach sticking out more. And now these guys are focusing on that. You got a lot of these guys hitting vacuum poses, smaller waist, even with the increased size that they're showing.
Yeah.
So, I
I
mean, I think they have made changes over the
I
last.
I understand like people criticizing. It's like they're gonna say something like, "Oh man, you need to get bigger arms" or something, and it's like we're professionals too. Like you don't think my coach and I or like the people in our corner like know that that's what we need to do.
Right.
So it's like I do find like when someone see I post a workout video or something on YouTube, I see it all the time. Someone watched a 20-minute video and then they comment something negative. It's like you watched that entire video and all you got out of that was something negative. Like,
Right.
why don't you look? I think that's a him problem. It's like, why don't you look for something positive out of the video? And
Yeah.
you just had to write something negative. I don't care anymore. It's more a reflection. I feel bad for the guy that just thinks so negatively.
Right.
Like,
right.
you need to check yourself.
So
So
we look at Nick Walker and we go, oh, Nick Walker might not have, some of the best waistline. But let's talk about Nick Walker's arms. He's got insane arms. His back double biceps is one of the best in the business. His side chest is possibly the best in the business.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Regan Grimes? I want to show you this picture here. You want to criticize Regan Grimes? I want you to take a look at his abdominals, his ab shot, right? Look at this ab shot here. You want to criticize Regan about something? No problem. You also need to talk about his midsection here. It's borderline perfect, right?
Thank you.
So you want to say Regan Grimes, he could have bigger arms? Go ahead. But he's got one of the best midsections in the business. His back lat spread is bar none a first call out. So that's what I think. If you're an expert, if you're somebody that has a YouTube channel, you have all the right to criticize. But if you want to be credible, you want to be consistent, right? You want to be consistent, and you want to say, this guy might want to improve this section, but he has some other amazing body parts. In this case, I think Regan Grimes has one of the best abdominals and thighs. I want people to talk about it. Yeah. I want people to talk about his back lat spread. You want to criticize his arms, you also need to mention the positive.
Right.
And the bottom line is you want to show, right?
Yeah, I did it. That was another thing. I think a lot of people said, oh, you always do the European shows.
Yeah.
Well, okay, now I did a California show.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't say that anymore.
Yeah. Well, now they're going to want you to win a show in Africa, which you already have done. You want to show in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
So you want to show in Africa, you want to show in Europe, and now you want to show in America. Now we're going to criticize you because you have not won a show in Asia.
Yeah, there we go.
I think Regan Grimes is awesome, and I think he's going to be stellar at the Mr. Olympia. I don't think anybody would be surprised if he shocks the world because he is genetically gifted. He has some of the best lines. I put him, Rafael Brandão, and Samson Dauda with possibly the best lines. If Regan comes in shredded, peeled to the bone, I think he can be very much undeniable. Is he going to be as dense as Nick Walker? No, he's not going to. And let me tell you, everybody on that stage is not going to be as dense as Nick Walker. He's the most dense bodybuilder we have. But, Nick Walker is not going to have the most beautiful lines as some of these guys. So this is going to be exciting. Regan, I want you to send a message to all your fans because despite all the criticism, you had a lot of people that came on your side and said, hey, hell no, this is my Canadian boy, and you better not be talking trash about him. What's your message to your fans?
Yeah, no, I would say a huge thank you guys for all the support. A lot of you guys have been there since the start. I mean, I've been doing this, turned pro in 2016. I see a lot of messages, people that watch all my videos and that have followed me since then. So I always think that that's really super cool. And I always like to connect with these people. And guys, thank you for every comment. I really appreciate it. And just supporting me, man. And I look forward to, sharing my ride into this Olympia as much as possible. I'm going to be on YouTube doing many videos, again, like a series leading in. So you're going to see at least, 2-3 videos a week showing you guys insiders, what I'm doing for the prep. So if you guys want to follow me there at, it's Regan Grimes on YouTube. And Instagram, of course, with daily updates. So, yeah, just a big thank you guys. I really appreciate you.
And who are your sponsors?
Sponsors is Applied Nutrition and AN Sups in the States, and New Tech, Celsius, and TLF Apparel.
And so if somebody wants to purchase those items with a discount code, they can go on your Instagram and they can get your discount code and order those supplements or apparel, whatever, with your discount codes, correct?
Yeah, on my Instagram, Regan Grimes, I have a link tree in there, and then all of the links are just clickable, so you can go right to the websites, and the code is always Grimes for every company that I'm affiliated with, so makes it easy.
Yeah, Regan is very popular. I've heard that the supplement companies love the traction that he gets. John, are you impressed with Regan Grimes?
Absolutely. I mean, Regan's got great potential. He's got the height. He's got the width. He's got the aesthetics. You know, it's just nailing that condition and coming in peak condition. I think he's got all the potential in the world. So I'm really excited about seeing him in the Olympia this year.
Thank you,
Absolutely,
John. Thank you.
yeah. Regan Grimes is one of the best bodybuilders of our times. He's won shows everywhere. You want him to win in America, he will do it. You want him to win in Europe, he has done it. He has done a show in Africa. Yes, he has won a show in Egypt. Regan Grimes is going to the Mr. Olympia, and he has very aesthetically pleasing lines. His conditioning at the Cal Pro was impeccable, and he has earned his qualification. He has now confirmed he might do France 2 weeks prior to the Mr. Olympia. No one will be surprised if he's in the top 10. No one. For that matter, I think everybody expects him to be in the top 10. It would be a disappointment if he's not there. But the key question is, can Regan Grimes be on a 6-7 man first call out? If he is, then Nick Walker will forever apologize for saying he is an internet bodybuilder. Bob Ciccarello and Sean Way will regret their comments for the rest of their lives. My name
I love it.
Yes, my name is Tarek El-Guindi with the superstar Regan Grimes, with the great historian of bodybuilding, John Hansen. We'll see you guys next time.
You're too good at that. You're too good at it. That's awesome.